Hello and welcome to another edition of Sound Magazine, public affairs programming. Things that are important to people in Western New York. Different events, different organizations. You'll hear about them here, and if you have one and you'd like to contact us, by all means, please do so. We would love to have you on Sound Magazine with your public service organization or charitable group. We'll give you information at the end of the show on who to contact and how to get your public service organization on Sound Magazine. And let us go right now to segment one and the lovely Dr. Tammy Lee.
Welcome to this segment of Sound Magazine. I'm your host, Tammy Lee Demler. Joining me today in studio, David Esposito, Managing Partner of Harvest Time Partners. Welcome, David.
Thanks for having me.
Tell me a little bit about Harvest Time Partners. I know you told me a little bit before we started today, but I want to share all of this excitement with the whole community that's listening today. So tell us what you are.
Sure, Tammy. Harvest Time Partners is a personal and professional development company focused on developing resources that are relevant for individuals, families, and organizations on the importance of character and how character can create opportunity in individuals' lives.
I like how you expressed to me as well, kind of developing, a work-life balance. We have this stressful life that we have to, operate within. Can't get rid of the external forces, but we can protect our families and ourselves by having that balance. And I like how you bring that into it.
Certainly. It is a complex world we live in. I mean, I'd like to say life is no longer simple and predictable. I wasn't sure if it was that simple in the way back then. Exactly right. But it does seem to be the pace of change in our world is extremely fast right now. And so the importance of individuals anchoring themselves on key areas of their life and defining where they want to go and utilizing principles like trust, loyalty, and commitment, perseverance in the execution of their lives to accomplish certain goals is critically important in this age of complexity in our world.
And those are timeless principles. They've always existed, and I'm sure you'll lead us through the law of gravity and how certain we are that absolutely is in place. Similarly, as you described, so are those other principles.
Correct. I think there are certainly natural laws that we would all agree with. The law of gravity, most you and I, if we jump up, we're not going to the moon. We're coming back to the ground. That law of gravity
doesn't ever escape us.
That's right. I wish I was playing basketball and it could work. It doesn't do that. Yeah. But certainly that law of gravity is true as it is. There's also the law of the harvest for individuals to think about in their own growth and development. When we think about the law of the harvest for a farmer, there's no way a farmer wakes up in the fall and all of a sudden has a field full of crops. That farmer anchors his plans in the winter, prepares with implementation of tools and all of that in the winter, ultimately plants in the spring, harvests or works the fields in the summer to harvest in the fall. That application of the law of the harvest, you reap what you sow, is very applicable to individuals' lives and their family and roles. You just don't wake up as a parent. I'm a father of 4 kids, and they're 18 and ready to go. You just don't wake up and send them off. There's a journey that we're all on personal and professional development. We think the law of the harvest truly applies to individuals' lives.
I think people sometimes think they can get away with not having to worry about what they reap and that it will, whatever they sow will just work out. But that's not always the case. I mean, certainly whatever comes around goes around. That's another way of saying it in a way.
That's very true. And I think, we have numerous examples in our world today where people maybe have taken the shortcut, whether it's, you can see the headlines these days with steroids in sports. You can see the examples on the recent financial crisis with the recession. All of that seems to be, let's make a decision in the short run that may look and sound good, but does not support a long-term growth or development of a business or an individual. And that's what we really want to describe to people, is that success as we define it is not only accomplishing goals in the short run, but it is accomplishing goals in the short run in a manner in which prepares us to accomplish even greater goals in the future.
And you speak from experience. You have a tremendous amount of experience that spans a lot of different areas. I'm going to let you tell us about it, but I want you to also tell us why that becomes important in character and why you want to increase this awareness.
Sure. So a little bit on my background. Graduate of West Point, served in the Army with the 101st Airborne Division in the First Gulf War. Operation Desert Shield and Storm was a Airborne Ranger Infantry Platoon Leader during that time. And then as I transitioned out of the service, I got into the corporate world, where I rose the ranks in healthcare organizations, both in the pharmaceutical side and medical diagnostic side. That's kind of the professional side of me in addition to this business. And I'm a husband and father of 4 very active children, from teenagers down to elementary school.
Very nice. And when your son is here today, so he's helping you out with everything today.
And for the audience out there, school closed where we're from yesterday, so he is not playing.
No worries. So tell us why obviously philosophically you're connected to this plan for making the community more aware of principle. But how did that translate into this business? I mean, how did you make this business happen?
Well, so I think in a number of ways. Certainly we're a product of our experience, and what I've either learned in my own journey of life or observing and learning from others is that life is a journey. It's not about a series of goals that you just knock down. And throughout that journey, I've seen my own series of ups and downs, whether they're in my wife and I's own personal finances, in our own relationships, in the raising of our children, in the businesses that I've run that had both ups and downs. But the importance to see the longer-term plan and continue to persevere towards those goals that you want to accomplish have been critically important in my life and others around me, or those that I have met, discussed, or read about, a product of our experience. And I felt an important need in this time and age to share those learnings with others. And that's really how the business came about. And it came about to both work that my wife and I have done in marriage and family work, but then also what I've done in the professional circles and businesses.
Okay. And I know we joked a little bit about whether or not you're a brick and mortar organization, but you mentioned virtual and that you have products and services. Tell us your website in case people in the meantime want to jot down where they can find more information.
Sure. So we have a number of information and resources at our company's website, which is www.harvesttimepartners.com.
Okay. And do you have a telephone number too? Just in case anybody can connect, or is it just online?
No, certainly online. I have an 800 number. It's 1-877-786-4278.
Okay, perfect. With that said, one of the things you mentioned in terms of tangible products people can be looking for, you have a series of books that you're working on, and I can understand how you would do that, publish and move in that direction. But you have a board game, and you created it, and I can't even imagine how one would start to do that. I'm completely amazed by that. Tell us about the games that you brought in today and what they're all about. Sure.
So they fall into the category conversation games to encourage conversation amongst kids and parents and educators, teens and adults. And so the game is entitled Abundant Harvest. There's a kids version and there's a teen and adult version. And the game, the board game takes people on the journey of a harvest. So in the board game, there's imagery around winter, spring, summer, and fall. And as people progress throughout the board game, there's a reinforcement of principle-based decision-making, things like trust and honesty in decisions we may make. And scenarios are played out in the game either as a parent, as a child, as a student, in the workplace, as an adult in society. And the game encourages dialogue around particular scenarios and asks the question, what would you do if you were in that scenario? And I could give you a quick example if that would help. Yeah. Sure. So give an example of one of the school scenarios. You're a student and you find a wallet with $300 in it on the school playground with no pieces of identification. Ask the question, what would you do? And so the player would describe to the group how they would respond in that scenario. And hopefully they would respond the right way. Although we talked a little bit about the fact that it seems as though our communities, our public arenas have lost the sense of principle. And so what if a parent were to guide their child in a wrong direction? Keep that dollar. You were giving some, kind of devil's advocate answers. Right. That's very true. So what we try to reinforce in the games and in our programs are that principles are self-evident, they're timeless, and they're critical to the the long-term success of an individual's journey, and that we provide some examples in the game of the principle-based decision-making. And our hope is that through conversation and dialogue, where a parent may play the role of the child or a child may play the role of a parent, that through those discussions, they would anchor around a principle-based decision-making and see that honesty pays off not only in the short run, but in the long run. And we hope in those guidance and directions that people do land on a principle-based decision-making that supports a principle where lying and cheating we wouldn't think or stealing is a principle, where we think trust and honesty are the right principles.
Where can people get this game? Because I'm thinking it's going to be perfect for Christmas, and I'm going to Google it and find it. How can I buy it?
Sure. So certainly on our website, harvesttimepartners.com, it's available. It's also available on Amazon.com, Walmart.com, a number of other online retailers or a few specialty retailers, but I think for most of your audience, it's very easy to get on our website, harvesttimepartners.com, or some of the other major retailing networks.
And get your shopping done early, because it's only June.
Yes.
But
we would encourage that. There's plenty of them out there.
Tell us about your other products. I know you mentioned workshops. We mentioned books. I'm going to give you a choice to pick either of those two to comment on.
Sure. So we do workshops, some in the form of, say, an hour-long seminar, others in the form of full-day seminars and workshops in the areas of personal development, where we help and guide individuals towards a certain life plan that they may have in major roles in their lives, whether they're a parent in the workplace, whether they're a student, to truly describe and answer the question, where are you going and where do you want to be? And then to be able to show certain steps along the way that can guide and direct people towards that journey. And one of the key takeaways that we encourage in those workshops is that people are responsible for the choices that we make. Many times people think, boy, it's a little bit of my hardwiring by birth or my environment that ultimately determines where I go. What we really try to describe to people is that all of those issues are important. It'd be nice to be involved in a good, nurturing, loving home and a loving environment. But ultimately, we're responsible for the choices that we make. And that ability to choose our response is probably the greatest freedom that each and every one of us have. And if we can exercise that freedom to choose, and we think the choice around principles like trust, honesty, and perseverance are the best ways to reap an abundant harvest in your life in whatever goals they are. Those are the kind of activities we work people through in those workshops, and we hope at the end of it, it is at least a good stepping stone along the journey for a much more productive life.
Can people sign up for workshops? I know it sounds as though people can ask you to come and organize a workshop, but can an individual person come and join a workshop? Are they posted? Do you have schedules?
I certainly have things posted on our website. They could also email me at david@harvesttimepartners.com. Pretty simple, david@harvesttimepartners.com. Many of our programs are customized to an individual or small group needs. So we do things like individual life coaching, which in some of what you described might be more relevant. But we also do just customized group workshops. We do post a schedule of events on our website, but certainly people could contact me directly to see what they're thinking.
Mm-hmm. And just the fact that you're a local entrepreneur, not to mention everything else that you do that's fabulous, is another reason that, that you should be highlighted and also acknowledged. As we wrap up here, we have just a few seconds left. Books, do you have books out now, or are you still working on them?
We're finishing up our first book on personal and professional development. Should be out this fall, so in time for that holiday shopping season that you described.
Perfect. So as we wrap here again, David, let's get some contact information out there. Harvest Time Partners, the virtual organization that provides so many different resources. Give us your website again.
Sure. It is www.harvesttimepartners.com, or they could reach me directly at david@harvesttimepartners.com.
And then you also had given your personal email. I'm sure that everybody will be emailing you as soon as they hear this interview. Give us that as we wrap up one more time.
Sure. Again, that is David, D-A-V-I-D, @harvesttimepartners.com.
David, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your good word.
Thank you, Tim.
And thank you. All right, now we have a local organization that helps with adoptions. Ever thinking about adopting? Stay tuned. We'll hear all about it as Sound Magazine continues in a moment.